on the road to Joppa. We are in the Old Jerusalem on a clear morning in the year 35, Anno Domini. It means after Jesus. Have we read this part before?
No.
Inside, inside a building where everything exudes the comfort and the luxury, a young man returned to his chair to study some papyri and parchments like someone is who amusing himself killing time. Zadok was now waiting for his friend Saul. Soon, a small vehicle resembling a Roman chariot and pulled by two superb white horses stopped in front of the door. In a short time, our personages embraced each other effusively. Saul displayed all the vigor of a single man bordering on 30 years of age. You see, as we are in the year of 35, he was at uh, at this at an age we can't say equal to Jesus in that time when he was born, but as in some years maybe older than Jesus. Older, no, younger than Jesus. His Jewish features stood out particularly in his deep, penetrating eyes of passionate temperament. Dressed in a patrician tunic, he preferred to speak Greek, which he had learned in his hometown. Of his much loved teachers, educated in the schools of Athens and Alexandria. You see, he's Jew, but he is dressed like a Roman patriot. So he probably Saul had bought his title of a Roman patrician. In fact, his father, who was very rich, he bought his title that allows him to be treated as a Roman citizen. Zadok remarked, a Roman chariot, speaking Greek and in the soul of the law, always desirous of submitting Rome and Athens to our principles, said Saul. Always the same, Saul, said his friend. The chariot is essential for your visits to a flowered little house on the road to Joppa. And speaking Greek is required for conversing with a true descendant of Issachar, born amid the flowers and marble of Corinth. Saul was extremely cheerful as he told his friend that he was, in fact, in love with a young girl of his race who combined the gifts of uncommon beauty with the highest treasures of the soul. About 3 months ago, he had gone with Alexander and Gamaliel to a private party that Zachariah ben Hanan, a well off farmer living on the road to Joppa, threw for some well situated friends. The host had emigrated from Corinth after disheartened due to the persecutions from Cenchrea to Caesarea, and then they arrived at this port, Joppa, where, helped by a Roman patrician who supplied him with the resources to buy a large property on the road to Joppa, and there, in the in the home of this man, Saul then met the young Abigail, a tender heart holder of the most beautiful moral virtues, intelligent, versed in the law, and above all, sweet and affectionate. She had been adopted by the couple as a dear daughter after her father had been murdered and her brother enslaved for life. So, in this way, Saul had described his loved one to Zadok. You see, he is impassioned. Have you told your parents about your plans? Zadok asked. My sister intends to go to Tarsus in a couple months, and she will be the bearer of my intentions. Well, where do you stand then? Your ambitions regarding for the post in the Sanhedrin? Asked them Zadok. You know that for a long time now, Gamaliel and my father have been pressing for my transference to Jerusalem. Soon I will replace him, Gamaliel, and receive a very good income besides the contribution coming to me periodically from Tarsus. And Zadok then, showing that he was not paying much attention, said, I am pleased to know that your father is progressively improving financially, and to think that he used it to be a simple weaver. That is the very reason why he taught me that particular skill when I was a boy. He taught me how to weave so that I would never forget that a man's progress depends on his own efforts. Tells intelligently Paul to say a moral lesson to Sadok. He and my mother are rightfully now resting at a venerable old age without any worries. His caravans and camels travel all over Cilicia. At a certain moment, the young man from Tarsus asked his friend about what had motivated him to come to Jerusalem. I came, said Sadak, to check out the healing of my uncle Philodemus. Have you heard of the men of the way? Aren't they? Said Saul, a few poor, ragged, ignorant Galilean. Yes, precisely. Then Zadok told him about a man called Stephen, who had restored his uncle's sight to the amazement of many people. How could Philodemus submit himself to such a sordid experience? Asked Saul. I have ever exchanged ideas with Gamaliel about how we might stop their pernicious activities. But with his characteristic characteristic tolerance, he pointed out the fact that these people have been helping many persons who don't have any money. Yes, said Zadok. But I've heard that Stephen's preaching is luring many learned individuals to new principles that in some ways invalidate the law of Moses. But wasn't an uneducated, obscure Galilean carpenter who originated this movement? Asked them Saul. Yesterday I was taken, said Sadok, to observe the charity house managed by one Simon Peter. It's an odd institution, but extraordinary. Abandoned children there find care. Lepers recover their health. Infirm elderly and people down on their luck rejoice in comfort. But the sick, where are they kept? said Paul, said Saul. You see, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, if there was someone with leper, that is Hanseníase, that person was put out of the city to places where only leper could inhabit. You see, the it was the law from the Old Testament who said the people to put the ones that had a disease, Hansen's disease or leper, how we say in the past, how we said in the past, it was the own law that told to put these people out of the city, probably because they thought they have something that they may pass to other people, and these people be with become with that disease. So Saul asked about this because he wants to know where these sick people with leper, where stay them. They all stay, said Sadok, with this incomprehensible man. They are all crazy, then said Saul. All crazy. And Saul then asks, and what days does this Stephen preach on the Shabbat? Said Zadok. The Shabbat for the Jews, it's the day of resting. It begins in the evening of the day and to the evening of the other day. The day for the Jews, they don't begin in the dawn. They begin, the days begin in the evening. Okay? Well, the day after tomorrow, we will go together to check out these fools, replied Saul. I have the difficulty to imagine how they say Saul. I imagine they may say in English, and everyone knows that I am Brazilian, that they may say so. Do you have? I can I can later research, but any one of you knows?
I think it's so.
So it,
Yeah.
it seems like so our souls. Yeah, that's all right. It's in the Jewish they say Saul. In fact, they may say it's more correct Shaul. The Jews. It's Shaul. The American, with all my excuses, they speak Hebraic. I don't know Hebraic, but I've heard someone, some American teaching uh, Hebraic. It's an American, and it's a pain in the ears, with all the respect to the Americans, because I think it's a language with many guttural in the throat, with many guttural sounds, and you say you see, they have the R. They say, oh, it's maybe the French, but I think the best intonation in Hebraic, besides the Jews of Israel themselves, may be from the Germans, because they say this R in the throat. Yeah. In the early evening, the elegant chariot of Saul of Tarsus passed through the gates of Jerusalem on its way to the harbor of Joppa. Joppa is the harbor that Jerusalem used to receive things that came by the navy, the Roman navy, and the ships that are of other places. The hot sun was still high above the horizon and covered the road. They broke into a full gallop from time to time, and then Saul could revive that victories he had won among his playmates in his carefree youth in Tarsus, in Tarsus. A few miles ahead, a comfortable house appeared set among tall date palms and blossoming peach trees. Um, the date palms, they had a very sweet fruit, and I like it. I don't like beer, this flavor, but this kind of flavor I like more sweet. But since the time of the Mesopotam, from Sumerians, they planted date palms. It's a very old tree. It may be some 7 to 8,000 years from today. You see, it's very much time before our days. The property was an integral part of one of the many small villages that had sprung up around the holy city, wherever there were conditions favorable for the small time farming that was of such interest to the markets of Jerusalem. Set itself, Jerusalem, in the midst of extraordinary dryness. There, Zechariah raised both fruit and flowers. Upon leaving Corinth, some countrymen had introduced him to a well-known Roman patrician who was a large land, excuse me, who was a large landowner in Samaria. That patrician lent Zachariah a good sum of money and suggested that particular region of Joppa where he, Zechariah, could rent him the property of a friend. If you seen in that book there, it's written Zachariah with A, and it's written as in Portuguese, the original language, and a few words after it's written Zachariah with E. Excuse me, it's written there. The sale of fruit and vegetables, as well as the raising of livestock and poultry, rewarded him well for his hard work and more. With the help of Alexander, a close relative of Annas, Zechariah had succeeded in being included among the privileged merchants who were allowed to sell animals for the temple sacrifices. The temple of Jerusalem, there people had to buy in the local coins, not in Roman coins, not in Greek coins, the animals to be sacrificed. It was a great resource of money for the temple itself. The poor, for example, Jesus, the father and mother of Jesus, the ones who couldn't buy a big animal, they bought those small animals and sacrificed them. But the ones who had properties, who had a few more money, they they the ones who could, they bought cattle and larger animals to sacrifice to God in the temple. It's interesting. In the antiquity, much before the Jews, the sacrifices to the gods were the time when the poor could have barbecues and eat meat. It was the sacrifices to the god was were very uh, uh, expected for many populations in the past. Yes, they were great parties, and you see, to the Jews, the priests from the tribe from Aaron, the tribe from Aaron, it's the tribe of the priests. To them, it was separated. It was many parts of the meat. They probably meet the best part of the meat. They ate first, and the other and many other parts they probably uh, gave to the people. It's a good question to talk to with the rabbins nowadays, and to they maybe know better about the antiquity civilizations. We know it was that the rule, but it's better to know to certify with the Jews. And helped by influential friends such as Gamaliel and Saul of Tarsus, Zechariah had been able to pay back a great part of his debt and had risen to a fine position of financial independence. He was then in a comfortable position. Zechariah had asked a loyal friend from Achaia to do everything possible to find Abigail's brother, Jason, and he had only managed to find out that Jaziel had been taken in chains aboard a merchant ship sailing for Nicopolis, as we've seen, enslaved. Abigail knew that Jaziel would like to get to know her heart's chosen one. She wanted him to know Saul, and she wanted to know that his beloved, that her beloved, interlaced with religious and philosophical thoughts that he, Jazel, would like very much. He, Saul, so or Saul, excuse me many times. I will try before we talk here alone to tame my language. He was not excessively sentimental, Emmanuel says. That Abigail knows that. But she had understood his noble and loyal spirit, which indicated a profound sense of self discipline. You see, Emmanuel said to us and describes to us that Saul was a very self disciplined man. His understanding of the law allowed for no leeway. She had gotten to know his untamed and restless temperament, as well as his eminently generous heart, where a fount of unknown tenderness lay deeply hidden. You see, only a woman like Abigail could cross the walls, the iron walls of his heart, to know that there inside was a great heart. Maybe Gamaliel, who so beloved as a master. But Abigail was actually a very psychological, intelligent woman. The two lovers walked hand in hand like a nearly engaged couple. When the Jews they engaged themselves, they consider themselves probably as they were myriad, as like they were myriad. The sea was several miles away from Joppa, but the fresh air of the afternoon had the feel of the gentle breezes blowing in from the coast. Saul and Abigail at first talked about everyday trivialities. After a short pause, Abigail looked at Saul with her big black eyes. So, if, oh, excuse me, Abigail is present, please.
So, if Jaziel is still a prisoner, will you promise me you will help on his behalf?
He took her hand and replied tenderly, I will do everything I can for him. And he asked emphatically, Abigail, do you love your brother more than me?
What do you mean?
Jazel,
Jaziel was my source of strength when my mother died. He was the loving brother who taught me to understand the commitments and to sing the psalms with hands folded, delivering me from the ways of evil and inclining me to the good and to the virtue. Everything you have found in me is a gift from the generous help of an attentive brother.
okay. Yesterday, Delilah and her husband went to Lydda to visit some of our relatives. Everything has been arranged for you to be with us in Jerusalem 2 months from now. Before my sister makes her next journey to Tarsus, I want her to get to know you more intimately so that she will be able to openly break the news to my parents about our plans to get married. I've already arranged for several Greek style tonics to be delivered to you within a few days. I want you to appear in Jerusalem as someone who has grown up amid the ancient beauties of Corinth. Abigail, he said, how long I waited for you on the path of my life. My father spoke to me about the home and its sweetness. You see, it's important here that we see about the intimate beliefs the in of the Jews about the marry about the marriage We see there in that time that they have high principles about the common life between two persons.
How long? Oh, sorry. I will correspond with a renewed affection. I will take your torment mind off the problem of your life. I will live with God and you alone.
So squeezed her hands more tenderly and replied, I, in turn, will give you my sincere and devoted heart. In Tarsus, after winning the highest awards during the magnificent days of the Youth Games, I used to receive declarations of love. But the truth is that I remained insensitive to those flowers to wait for you. When God brought me here to meet you, your eyes in a flash spoke to me of sublime revelations. You are the heart of my mind, the essence of my reasoning, and you will be the guiding hand of my edification through all life.
August, can I just have one comment? It's this is everything because he was not romantic. Imagine if he was romantic. Oh my.
I'm already
You,
feeling jealous here.
you see, it's very important. I I spared some things to show to you here. You wait now. We have here in the Ephesians, in the letter of epistle or letter of Ephesians, Ephesians, we have here in the chapter 5, Saul writing, because the bride is the head of the women. Do you understand? How the Christ is the head of the church. In short, as if the church is subject to Christ, so that the women be in all subject to his man, to his bridegroom, to her bridegrooms. Uh, Paul says that in his letters that the women uh, must obey to the head of uh, their men. Excuse me, I had no time to see the Bible in English, and this was a very bad translation. But if you understand what I mean to translate to you in this epistle, uh, you see, when and we are reading here from Paul that to Abigail, that you are the heart of my mind, we see a different meaning that tells us that the women have the heart much of a much greater sensibility than the man, and the women must put the feelings into the rationale of the man. Okay, it's okay. It's I knew a woman in the past that I told she was a Protestant, and I talked to her. Well, uh, Paul say in this his epistle that uh, the woman must obey to his man to hear what she would tell. She was a very she has a very strong personality. Yes, and she told, well, my husband he has not following Christ, so I should not obey him. I found she was very intelligent in her rational. Yeah, but in fact, we say that the men in the ancient times, with rare exceptions, the men were very strong and treated women like subjected to him uh, to that women must obey their husbands, and we see that Abigail, she develops the feelings to enchant and to make stronger the life between her Paul, her soul, and Abigail, Saul or soul, and her. Anna, please say to us.
I would like to comment that to make a comment that woman belonging to man, it is actually in the Christ's age, it was kind women slaves and children were all in the same pack. It was kind of like that, and they were property, like real property. They
Yeah,
bought
yeah,
and treated the whole thing as a. When Saul says that is arranged, I believe that is not just getting the blessing from the father. So it is. It has more behind that, but we have to understand that it was when it was written. Um, Woman belonging to man is something that sometimes we think that is it's very old, and it is in a certain way. But woman could fly uh, until the 50s only with the approval of her husband. So it's not so new, you know. I don't know if you knew that,
yes,
but it is very. It is something that we have to consider when we read the book, because I think Emmanuel was a nice guy, and he brought the love and everything, but it wasn't something that was very common, and I really like it the way that he put it in the story that is not a story, because um not long ago marriage was not for love or for happiness. It was something especially among wealthier people, it was like a contract. People marry because they have interests behind it. It was very hard to find a couple that would marry because they loved each other. So the way that Emmanuel put it in the book, I think it was beautiful because it shows the woman. Yes, in some communities it's still like that. We have to
you
be
needn't
aware of
go
that, right?
farther. You say in Switzerland, women began to vote in 1972. Do you imagine that? And many Arabian, not Arabian, Muslim countries, you have the woman very much a property of the man. Uh, in Saudi Arabia, very recently, women were allowed to drive cars. It's I don't know if 1 or 2 years ago. Um, the more different things you can imagine between the more liberal and more radical countries. There are 150 million women all over the world that had a surgical extraction of their clitoris because they then be more contra because it's a custom of them, we say about that. uh, and I thank you very very much, but we are uh, in uh, in time now to end our meeting. I pass the word to you. If anyone can say, would like to know something, and I pass to Aline to then uh, have the word.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you very much, August, again for the amazing meeting tonight. And we really appreciate the story that is becoming more and more interesting. Thank you very much. And thank you for your dedication with us. So we thank you everybody for joining us this night. We're gonna now be on time for our final prayer. Please like the channel and follow us on Facebook too. We really appreciate all the help you can give us to spread the spiritism um, in the world. Let's raise our mind to the beloved God that has sustained us through all seasons, through all times, in the happiness, in the health, but also in the sadness, in the sickness, in the winter of our soul. Thank you, Lord, for never abandoning us. Thank you for the inspiration this night, for allow us to spend our time learning more about your love, about your knowledge. We pray that we can apply this new knowledge in our life daily. We pray for those who could not be here this night but are in our thoughts. We thank you, Lord, for all good and all challenges in our life. Bless our family and friends. Bless those that don't have so good feelings about us. Stay with us, oh Lord, today and ever. So be it.